97% of men over 50 miss the moment a woman starts flirting with them, not because they're blind or out of touch, but because the signs aren't what they used to be. She's not going to touch your arm and giggle like a teenager. She's not going to say, "I like you," or ask you out over drinks. Instead, she'll ask a question, soft, casual, seemingly harmless, that opens a door. And if you don't walk through it, the door closes just as quietly as it opened. That's how it happens. You walk away thinking it was a nice conversation. She walks away thinking, "Well, I guess he's not interested." You didn't say the wrong thing, you just didn't say the right thing because you didn't realize what she was really asking. This video is about those moments, those quiet questions that don't sound romantic, but are those sideways glances, offhand comments, curious little probes that women use when they want to test the water without falling in first in the next few minutes. I'm going to walk you through 8 subtle questions women ask when they're interested, but too careful, too respectful, or too uncertain to just say it outright. You'll understand what she's really asking, why it matters, and how to answer in a way that shows you're still in the game, not chasing, not desperate, just present, steady, and fully yourself. Because here's the truth after 50, most men don't need to try harder. They just need to notice more. And once you do, you'll start to see interest where you used to see politeness, warmth, where you thought there was just small talk and attraction. Real, grown-up mutual attraction, where you once assumed you were invisible. Let's start with the first question. It sounds innocent, but it's one of the biggest tests she'll ever throw your way. How old are you really? Question number 1, how old are you really? It sounds playful, innocent even. But when a woman looks you in the eye and says, "How old are you?" Really, she's not asking for a number. She's asking for something else entirely. She already knows you're not 30. She's not trying to guess your age for sport. What she's really doing is feeling out how comfortable you are in your own skin. She wants to know, do you carry your age like a burden or like a badge? And the way you answer will tell her everything. If you flinch, deflect, or turn it into a joke about getting older, she'll smile politely, maybe even laugh, but inside the energy shifts because what she's looking for isn't youth. It's presence, confidence, a sense that you're still fully alive in your own life, not apologizing for the years you've lived. The men who stand out at our age aren't trying to look younger. They're the ones who've made peace with their timeline, who can say, without blinking, old enough to know what matters, young enough to enjoy the ride, or even with a slow grin, "You want my age or my attitude." I once spoke to a man named Rick, 64, divorced, silver hair, sharp dresser. He told me about a conversation he had at a downtown jazz lounge. She was maybe late 40s, early 50s, smart, classy, and after a little back and forth, she leaned in and said it. "How old are you, really?" Rick, thinking he was being clever, replied, "Too old for you." She laughed, but not the way he hoped. He said the spark dimmed almost instantly, and later that night, he realized he didn't just dodge the question. He dodged the moment. That's what most men miss. These questions aren't interviews, they're invitations, and when you answer them with self-doubt or self-deprecation, she hears it loud and clear. Here's what's really happening under the surface. As we get older, we carry more history, more scars, more quiet fears that maybe we're not seen anymore. But women feel that energy, and when they ask something like this, they're not just curious about your age, they're curious about your aliveness. So the next time a woman asks you how old you are really, don't reach for the punchline. Don't treat it like a test. Treat it like a door, because if she is asking, that means she's already thinking maybe, and your answer will tell her if the door stays open. Question number 2, why aren't you? Why aren't you married? Married at first glance. It sounds like a personal question, maybe even a little judgmental, but when a woman asks, "Why aren't you married?" especially with a soft voice and curious tone, it's not an interrogation, it's interest carefully disguised. She isn't digging into your past just to hear war stories. What she's really asking is, are you emotionally available? Now, is there space in your life for someone like me? But this is where a lot of good men trip up some launch into their full romantic history. Divorce, heartbreak, missed chances. Others get defensive, brushing it off with a bitter chuckle, saying things like, marriage, tried it once, never again. Both answers do the same thing. They close the window. She just cracked open what she's looking for. Isn't your resume. It's your rhythm, the way you carry the answer. If you're at peace with your past, or if you're still dragging it behind you like a suitcase you never unpacked. The better answer, something simple, grounded, honest, but not heavy. Try this. Life kept me busy, but I've got space now for something real. Or, I guess I just haven't met the right woman until maybe now. Let me tell you about Gerald. He's 67, quiet type, works with his hands, widowed young. We were talking one afternoon, and he told me about a woman he met at a community garden. They started chatting about tomatoes, of all things, and before long she asked him, "So, how come a man like you isn't married?" He froze and gave a kind of stiff answer about how things didn't work out, and quickly changed the subject. A week later, she stopped showing up. I didn't realise she was asking because she was thinking about us. He told me I thought she was just being polite. That's the thing, these moments don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly, wrapped in casual questions that seem harmless until you realise what they meant. After she's gone, psychologically, what's happening here is subtle but powerful. A woman asking this is feeling something, but she doesn't want to risk being vulnerable unless you show her. It's safe if your answer feels bitter or closed off. She backs away, but if your tone is calm, clear, and just a little warm, like a man who's done the work and is open to something new, it tells her everything she needs to know. So the next time someone asks why you're not married, don't give her a reason to regret asking. Give her a reason to ask what's next. Do you date younger women? Question number 3. Do you date younger women? This one catches a lot of men off guard. Some take it as a compliment. Others treat it like a trap. But here's what you need to understand when a woman asks, do you date younger women? She's not really asking about your dating history. She's testing your receptivity quietly, carefully. She's asking, could you see someone like me as more than just a friend? Most of the time, she's not looking for a direct yes. She's looking for an answer that makes her feel seen, not judged, not compared, and definitely not like you've got a collection of 30s on standby. She wants to know if the connection you're having in this moment matters more to you than a number on a calendar. Now here's where some men fall flat. They either puff up bragging about younger dates like they're auditioning for a trophy, or they shut down saying things like, I'm way too old for you, as if to dismiss the possibility before she can, Both responses miss the point, because what she's really asking is, do I have a chance? The better answer, one that centers connection, not calculation. Try saying, I don't date by age, I date by energy and connection. Or even, I care more about how a woman makes me feel than when she was born. Let me tell you about Marcus. He's 59 sharp wit, always well put together, met a woman at his favourite bookstore. Mid-40s, bright eyes, asked for a recommendation on a memoir. They chatted, laughed, shared coffee across the street. Then came the moment she leaned back and asked, do you usually date younger women? He paused, took a breath, and simply said, I like women who bring good energy. Doesn't matter to me if they're younger or older, just matters that we click. She smiled. Not polite, but interested. That conversation turned into dinner. That dinner turned into something more. That's the power of presence, of not fumbling. When the question isn't really about what it seems. Because here's the truth. When a woman asks this, it's not always about age. It's about permission. She wants to explore the possibility without putting herself too far out there. She wants to feel like you'll meet her halfway. without making her feel foolish for asking. At our age, attraction isn't about lines or pickup games. It's about knowing how to respond with clarity, kindness, and just enough spark to keep the door open. And when she asked if you date younger women, that door is cracked right there in front of you. The only question is, do you walk through it or let it quietly close? What kind of woman do you usually go for? Question number 4. What kind of woman do you usually go for? Now, this one may sound casual, almost like small talk, but when a woman asks, what kind of woman do you usually go for? She's not just curious, she's comparing, measuring, trying to see if she fits the frame you've built in your mind. It's not about creating a checklist, it's about seeing if she has a chance to be that woman. Here's the mistake a lot of men make. They take the question literally and rattle off a list. Oh, someone who's athletic, adventurous, tall, brunette, into golf, as if they're describing an order at a restaurant. What they don't realise is that in that moment, she's watching closely, listening not just to your words, but to what your answer says about how you see women. She wants to know if you're stuck on an image or if you're open to connection. She wants to know if you've evolved or if you're still chasing an ideal that stopped making sense 20 years ago. Better move, speak to the qualities that matter, the ones that can live inside the woman. Sitting across from you, try saying, I like women who are thoughtful, curious, someone who can laugh in the middle of a tough day. Notice, those are traits she can see in herself if she's interested in you, and if she's asking the question, she probably already hopes she fits your answer. I once spoke to a man named Elliot, 62, a retired firefighter, met a woman through a volunteer project. They got along effortlessly, and one afternoon while painting a fence side by side, she asked, So, what kind of woman do you usually go for? Without thinking, he said, I guess I like someone calm, someone who makes a space feel peaceful just by being there. She didn't say anything, but later that day she stayed behind to help clean up, and when he thanked her, she smiled and said, I was hoping I was your type. That's the beauty of moments like this. If you answer with presence, not performance, you create a space where attraction can grow from a psychological perspective. This question is a form of self-selection. She's gathering clues, subtle ones to see if she should lean in or lean out. And the way you answer can either affirm her interest or quietly shut it down. So next time a woman asks what kind of woman you usually go for, don't list off your fantasy. Describe the kind of connection you'd like to build. Because chances are she's not asking for a friend. Are you always this charming? Question. Number 5, are you always this charming? This one usually comes with a smile, maybe even a little laugh. It sounds like a compliment. But it's more than that. When a woman says, are you always this charming? She's doing 2 things at once, acknowledging the spark she feels and testing to see what you'll do with it. Most men don't realise it, but this is one of those rare moments where attraction comes right up to the surface. Soft but clear. The compliment is real, but the question behind it is even more important. What she's really wondering is, can you hold the moment without fumbling? Can you meet the warmth she's offering without breaking eye contact or turning it into a joke? Unfortunately, this is where a lot of men pull back. They deflect, shrug it off, say something like, only on Tuesdays, or guess I'm having a good day. And just like that, the spark she offered it fizzles. Here's what works better. Still light, still playful, but grounded. Try saying, only when I'm around someone who makes me feel like myself. Or even, I try to save it for moments that matter, because when you respond with presence, when your tone says, I'm here, I see you, and I'm not afraid of this little dance, you make her feel safe to keep playing along. I remember a story from Alan, 68, soft-spoken widower hour. He told me about a woman he met at a dinner party. They'd been chatting about books and old movies, and she leaned in and said, Are you always this charming, or is it just tonight? Alan smiled gently and said, That depends. Are you always this curious, or am I just lucky? He said she looked at him a little longer after that, with eyes that said, now we're getting somewhere. Here's the thing. This question isn't really about charm, it's about chemistry. She's giving you a moment and opening a safe space to take the interaction, from friendly to flirtatious, without pressure, without pushing, and how you answer tells her if you're a man who's still tuned in or tuned out psychologically. This kind of compliment question combo is a feminine way of escalating interest gently. She's not going to make the first move outright, but she is going to open a door, and in that moment, your job isn't to prove anything. It's just to receive the compliment without shrinking from it. So if a woman ever asks if you're always this charming, don't brush it off, let her see that. Yes, you're still a man who knows how to meet a moment when it arrives, even now, especially now. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Question number 6. Why don't you have a girlfriend? Now this one might seem simple on the surface, but it's one of the clearest signs that she's not just talking. She's wondering if there's room in your life, and maybe even in your heart, for someone like her when a woman asks, why don't you have a girlfriend? She isn't making small talk. She's feeling you out quietly, asking, are you open? Are you still capable of intimacy? Or have you shut that part of your life down for good? A lot of men, without realizing it, answer this question in ways that sound closed. They say things like, I'm too set in my ways, or I like my freedom, or worse, relationships are too much drama at this stage. And just like that, without meaning to, they give off the signal that their doors are locked emotionally, unavailable, maybe even a little bitter. But here's the truth. She's not just asking if you're single. She's asking if you're available, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And the right answer, if it's true, is one that leaves room for hope. Try saying, I guess I've been waiting for something that feels unexpected. Or, I've taken my time, but I'm still open to being surprised. Let me tell you about William. He's 71, sharp dresser. Always calm, carries himself like a man who knows who he is. He was at a gallery opening when a woman struck up a conversation with him. After a while, she leaned a little closer and asked, why don't you have a girlfriend? He looked her in the eye and said, because I've been busy learning how to be a better man. Now I'm ready for a better kind of love. He said her eyes didn't leave his for the rest of the night. That's the power of a grounded answer, one that's not afraid to show a little longing, a little mystery, but still stands tall from a psychological point of view. Women in midlife and later years are just as nervous about rejection as we are, maybe even more so. So instead of saying how they feel directly, they ask these types of in-between questions, ones that sound curious but are actually brave little bids for connection. And how you respond lets her know whether it's safe to keep going deeper or whether she should retreat before she feels foolish. So when she asks why you're still single, don't give her a reason to walk away. Give her a reason to stay curious, stay open, stay with you just a little longer. Would you ever date someone like me? Question number 7. Would you ever date someone like me? There, it is the closest thing to a confession you'll ever hear from a woman who's trying to be brave but not reckless when she asks, would you ever date someone like me? She's not fishing for compliments, she's putting herself on the line. And believe me, asking that question takes courage. It might come wrapped in humour, a smile, a casual tone, but underneath it, there's vulnerability, because this time she's not asking about women. Like her, she's asking about her. It's not a test, it's not a joke. It's a moment, a real one, and how you respond can either make her feel beautiful or make her wish she hadn't asked a lot of men. Freeze in this moment. They try to play it safe. Maybe say something neutral like, I don't know, maybe. Or worse, they panic and change the subject, and just like that, she pulls back, not because she didn't mean it, but because she now feels exposed and alone in it. So what's the right answer? Not a line, not a performance. Just something honest, something that lets her know she was seen and appreciated. Try saying, "I'd be lucky if I could." And then say nothing else. Let it sit. Let her feel the weight of it, the truth of it. I remember a man named Charlie, 66, former military, a little rough around the edges, not one for poetry. He told me about a moment he had on a walk with a woman he'd met. Through mutual friends, they'd been getting to know each other slowly, carefully, and one evening under a fading sky, she stopped, looked over at him and asked quietly, "Would you ever date someone like me?" He said he didn't answer right away. He just looked at her. Then he said, "I think I'd be a fool not to." She didn't say anything. At first just took his hand and they kept walking. That's what this moment calls for. Not cleverness, not strategy, just clarity with a touch of warmth psychologically. This is the final test, not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply human one. She's showing you her hand, and not just as a flirt, but as a woman who's wondering if she's still wanted, still seen, still capable of stirring something in a man like you. You don't need to give her promises, you just need to give her presence. So when she asks if you'd ever date someone like her, know that it took something for her to say that out loud. And if you can meet her with something true, even something simple, she'll remember you, not as the man who chased, but as the man who made her feel. Again, bonus, nonverbal. Clues matter. Bonus, nonverbal clues matter too. Not every question comes with words. Sometimes the biggest signs of interest don't come from her mouth at all. They come from her body, her posture, her eyes, the way she lingers just a little longer than necessary when the conversation pauses. Because here's the truth. Women, especially mature women, are often more fluent and subtly than most men realise. They've learned how to send signals without saying anything that might expose too much. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the message entirely. You ever notice a woman tilts her head slightly when you're talking, holds your gaze for just a beat longer than most people do, laughs at something you said even when it wasn't exactly a joke? Those aren't accidents, those are clues. And then there are the physical cues. A gentle touch on your arm when she makes a point, standing just a little closer than she needs, to mirroring your movements, crossing her legs, when you do, leaning in, when you lean forward, and these are signs that she's not just present. She's engaged, she's aware of you. And more than that, she wants you to be aware of her. I remember a man named Daniel. He was 70, widowed, hadn't dated in over a decade. Met a woman through a local film club. After a few group outings, she started sitting beside him. More often she'd ask little questions, laugh easily, and once, after a shared joke, gently touch his hand. He thought nothing of it until she stopped doing it, and he noticed how quiet it felt when that small warmth disappeared. "She was waiting for me to notice," he said later, "and I didn't not until it was too late." That's how non-verbal signals work. They're invitations, but they don't stay open forever. Physiologically, we're wired to pick up these signals. Eye contact, proximity, mirroring all. Speak to the oldest parts of human attraction. But when we get older, especially after heartbreak or long gaps between relationships, we start to mistrust what we see. We second guess, we tell ourselves, she's just being polite. But what if she's not? What if her glance means more than manners? What if that lingering laugh is her way of saying, "You still have it, I see you"? At our age, it's not about reading minds. It's about staying present, staying open, noticing the details you used to overlook when life was louder, faster, more crowded with noise. So here's your quiet assignment. Next time you're talking to a woman, stop looking for the perfect line. Look at her eyes, her body language, the rhythm of her breathing when she's listening to you, and ask yourself, not what do I say next, but what is she already telling me without saying a word? Because sometimes the most meaningful signals don't come in questions. They come in silence. Final reflection, final reflection. Respond like the man you are by now. You've seen how subtle attraction can be after 50. The questions aren't loud, the signals aren't obvious, but they're there, quiet invitations wrapped in casual words, waiting to be answered by a man who knows who he is. And when that moment comes, when she leans in, smiles, and says something like, "Are you always this charming?" Or, "Would you date someone like me?" What she's going to remember isn't just what you said, it's how you carried yourself, whether you rushed or rested in the moment, whether you tried to impress or simply told the truth. Because real presence doesn't need a script. The men women remember aren't the ones who have perfect answers. They're the ones who make her feel safe, being real, who listens without looking past her, who let a little silence hang in the air without trying to fill it. So here's what I want you to remember. At your age, you don't need to chase. You don't need to perform. You've already lived enough life to know what matters. Now, it's about recognizing the moments when someone else sees that in you and being ready to meet them halfway. Let your posture be open. Let your voice be steady. Let your energy say, "I'm here. I'm not playing games." And if this turns into something, it's because we both showed up honestly. Because when a woman feels that from you, when she senses that groundedness, everything changes. She leans in, she softens, she lets go of the performance too. And now you're not just having a conversation, you're building a connection. So as we close, take a look back at the last few conversations you've had with women. Little moments you now realize carried more weight than you gave them. Were there questions you brushed off too quickly? So you're not alone. We all miss them sometimes. But the next time it happens, you'll see it. And more importantly, you'll feel it. And when you do, don't overthink it. Just stay grounded, stay kind, stay open, because you don't have to become someone new. You just have to show up as the man. You already are the one who listens, who leads with warmth, and who isn't afraid to say, "I'd be lucky if I could." And if this video spoke to you, take a second to subscribe and tap the bell. Your support helps us bring more real conversations to men like you, men who still have a lot of life left to live.